Hello and welcome to part 1 of lesson 3, Advanced Topics. In this part, we will be talking about a bad design. In the next two parts, we'll be talking about some more advanced techniques so that we can recreate the bad design using those advanced techniques, sweeps, lofts, and shells in part 2, and patterns and text in part 3. And together, we'll be able to recreate this bad design of a watering can. Prepare yourselves because I'm probably going to say flower pot a lot instead of watering can for whatever reason. It's not a flower pot, it's a watering can, but I'm not gonna try and explain why. Anyway, not the point. We will be using these techniques that we learned to recreate this in a much more elegant and better way so it doesn't look as bad and it's much easier to figure out what's going on in the design. So what we'll be covering is how not to design and maybe some things of how to make it better, as well as we'll be uh, getting a little bit more acquainted with the file tree in the process, but it's mostly about the design. So let us get in. If I can never get out of that PowerPoint. There we go. Here is our bad watering can. It looks really ugly. Whoever designed it, named me, did a very poor job um, designing it. So let's first just say, or let's look at this from a functional perspective because uh, there are infinite ways you can actually go about designing a part, good or bad. But you can, as long as you end up with a good end result, you have an end result. That's good. But this isn't really good end result, so let's look at that first. First, it's a strange shape, although maybe you like that, but even then, it has very sharp corners, so that's not good, especially for 3D printing. Um, but also, if you're gonna you may get stuck on things. So corners are bad. It's a cube. That make of that what you will. This handle is very strange. It's not rounded. It's probably too small for any hand. There's very little support. So if you had like a fillet here or here, that'd be good so you could spread the weight distribution a little bit better. The edges are not rounded, so like this edge would be good to be rounded because if you're going to grab it, you don't want it to be sharp. This bottom part's a bit thick. It's also strangely wide. And moving on to the front, uh, we have a weird square hole in the front. Once again, that's not necessarily a problem. This ring is not serving any purpose because if you notice there's like a hole right there, there's a hole right there. Doesn't really go through anything. Uh, Zoom in really carefully and look. You can actually see that there's a hole through this whole side right here. They don't even match, which means the water would fall out the side while pouring. Um, and the ring once it also doesn't even like cover the whole square thing, so like it's not useful. So let's say now that you have your flower pot watering can and it works, pretending that it does. It wouldn't, but pretend that it would. And let's say, okay, well, I want it to be a bigger base. So that this first feature right here, it's the base, just the square. So drop down the arrow, find the sketch, edit sketch, and let's say we want it to be a bigger pot. So let's make that 100, and this one 100 as well. And exit sketch. This should be no problem. And we have an error already. Oh dear. Okay. Let's just continue and ignore the error. Uh, well, things seem to have gone very poorly, very quickly. So there's a hole here. These sides don't line up anymore. These sides don't line up anymore. There's a hole there. The handle's sticking through the back wall. It's bad. So I'm just going to do a file reload, and just another note, these right here with the little yellow arrows, we could actually probably go and look and see what the problems are if we wanted to. So this is made from the side. Yeah, but that's a good way of looking at this. So we have the base sketch right here, and then the next sketch right here we have is on the side. So this is 5 and 90, but this, okay, so this is where we first go wrong. Originally this length was 90, and this length is also 90, which isn't a problem unless you change this one, because then this one's not going to change. If you used a proper constraint instead of a number like this, so if you got rid of the 90 and then constrained it to if we can control select that edge, so we did coincide, and then it would always snap to that edge, and no matter how big we made it, it wouldn't be a problem. Let's continue to ignore error. Okay, so that's one error fixed. Let's see here, the next one. Okay, let's just look at the next features. So this sketch is on a different plane, which is very odd. So the first two are sketched up from the top, from the base, and this one's now sketched on from the side, which is odd. And you would think that you could probably, for that matter, all 4 of these sides could be a single sketch that is then extruded up because they're all the same height. There's no reason for them all to be separate. Let's see, is this the third one? So this one isn't by itself having any problems, but once again it has a hard-coded number. So I'm going to delete that and say let's make U and that edge. So we can just do pierce, it's essentially the same thing. We also have a thickness here. 5 is how thick the walls are, and that's why we did, okay, continue, ignore error. That's why the original base was 90 millimeters, was because I wanted the outside to be 100. And with each side being 5, that's how you would get that. So 90 plus 5 plus 5 is yeah, anyway. So this one's 5. If you wanted to change the thickness, once again, you'd have to go in and change every single part, or every feature. So this one has a 5. This one, instead of it being in the sketch, the extrusion is 5 wide. This one has a 5. This one as well. Okay, so here we have another problem. Let's start. Let's edit sketch. You are dimension to be 100, so why not move you to over to this point? This point shall coincide. Okay, so that actually seems to have fixed things. Although this is no longer centered, so that might bug you. I don't think I'm gonna go in. I'll show you why, but I'm not gonna actually go in and fix that. I think it's a bit too much right now. So let's see. This is the next feature. So yeah, we have half of this is extruded because we have a hole right here. So instead of cutting out a hole, we're just extruding around the hole. And here we're extruding up from the bottom. And then in the next one, we are extruding out from the side. At least here we're dimensioning from this, so that is at least going to make sure the hole is always 30 millimeters. But this, because it's not centered or relative to the center, it's not going, related to the center, it's not going to stay centered. Let's go to the handle. So we have the first feature, which I guess this isn't centered either because it's offset from the side. And then we have, let's see, I'm going to start doing the rollback. This is what I was originally going to do, was use the rollback feature so we can go all the way to the beginning. Okay, there's the first feature, second feature, so on. I think we're about there. Yeah. Okay. So here, this sketch is on the side. It's also not dimensioned, so we could make this. Let's just see what happens. once we go on further. So that's probably going to mess some stuff up. So this is extruded. Is this blind? Yeah, that's blind. So if you change this dimension here, the handle thickness wouldn't update as well. Yeah, so here you are 15 wide. I don't know why they're so different widths. It's very strange. Yeah. Okay, my view is a little weird, a little wonky. Let's skip down a few. So here we have this. So that's a straight down. Yeah, discard, change it, and exit. So we extrude it out that way and then down this way, and all these random sketches. And this, oh, the handle doesn't even connect back anymore. Oh goodness. Okay. So I'm actually gonna, can I undo some? Yeah, I want that to go back. And I'll save, and then we'll go back to where we were. So these cuts right here are actually cutting through the handle, and if we were to make the handle wider, we would see that they don't all go all the way through because they're only blind. So pretend that it wasn't. There was a thinner handle. Actually, because they're all. I'll just do like 5. Oops. Let's just pretend that this was 5. So then you see if the handle was wider, it wouldn't even cut all the way through. And there's some, I don't know what's going on here, but this feature goes through and into the wall, which is why it was sticking out earlier. Then here we have a sketch based off of this plane right here. Then we sketched around. Then we made another one on the other side. But if you look, you can't really see here, but if you go into this view, you'll see that these lines aren't actually on top of each other. They don't line up. No pun intended. So these points, that was why there was a hole in the side, was because the points don't match. Oh, and you can easily fix that just by clicking this one and there and adding a coincide. That will solve many problems. I cannot see because my little key viewer thing is right in front of that, which is inconvenient. I'm going to collapse some of these. Collapse, and then we'll bring that up. Okay, last few features. Ugh, okay. Top, I think it's just sketched onto the, yep, on top, and then bottom, let's see. Oh yeah, so when I made this, I actually had to make sure that the um, sketch went through and into the wall, because when I was extruding down, it was saying that there was a 0 thickness issue because the line was directly on the edge right here, and it did not like that. So just something to note. And finally, we have this weird ring, which isn't doing anything except to like try and be a circle on the end. It even has a second direction out the back, which it needs. I'm going to disable it for a second to show why. It's because SolidWorks is going to say, oh no, there's a 0 thickness issue, which means that like it's trying to extrude out in a place, and it would create a area. I don't know why I can't describe 0 thickness very well. Just an area where there is no thickness, like an edge, trying to extrude an edge or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's just 2 circles that I don't even think are centered. 2 for that matter. They don't go through the edge, so if there was water flowing out, it would get stuck, quote unquote. It doesn't really get stuck anywhere, but it wouldn't pass through these corners. Then there are holes here, and it's a bad design. So thank you for watching this part and seeing how not to design, and then in the next 2 parts we will recreate this, but in a much better way. So I hope to see you then. Farewell.